Hi everyone, and welcome to StudioJake Movie Makeover Masterpiece. On this podcast, we take a film that on paper should have been good. Maybe it had a dynamite director, an awesome cast, the trailer just dazzled you, but when you saw it, whether at home or in the theater or you saw it through a streaming service, whatever the case may be, you were like, where did this go wrong? Myself and a special guest, we're going to be talking about these movies, where they went wrong, and how we can fix them. So sit back, relax, and welcome to StudioJake Movie Makeover Masterpiece. The Commuter is a 2018 action thriller that was released by Studio Canal. The plot involves an ex-cop and recently fired insurance salesman discovering a mysterious package prompted by an even more mysterious woman on board his commuter train to and from his job. The movie had everything going for it: a seasoned director, an all-star cast, and a claustrophobic atmosphere. When it was released, however, critics and audiences noticed similarities to other thrillers in previous works starring Liam Neeson, who was praised for his performance despite the accusations of carbon copying. My special guest for today is entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and candidate for Congress in Nevada, Lisa Song Sutton, who joins me today to discuss The Commuter and where it went wrong. So Lisa, how do we fix this film?
Well, it wasn't as bad as I had anticipated that it would be, given the lead-in into it. But there was just so many holes in the story. Like, when they had the lady sitting there across from him, she's like giving him the proposition, this mysterious hypothetical that ended up being real. It's like we needed more. Like, why him? Why are they choosing him? How do they know he's going to be on there? And like, if they knew all these other things of like him calling people and all this stuff, like, why didn't they just know who Prin was? They knew like everything else. They knew everything else about everyone else on the train, right? Like,
and I agree. Because one thing I do love Liam Neeson as an actor, and I've never seen, maybe with the exception of The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, I've never seen a movie with him where he's a character that I didn't like. And I think, and also he had worked with this director previously, a French director named, oh man, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, but Juan Collet Serra, and they had worked together on Non-Stop, which was another movie with a similar premise. And I think that was, now I have not seen Non-Stop yet, but I remember when it first came out, when The Commuter first came out, people were complaining that it was a similar plot to that. But one thing I did like about this movie is it does utilize Liam Neeson's talent. So even though, like you said, it has some holes in it that didn't quite make sense, I did appreciate that about it. And one of the things that I thought was a little odd of the story is, like you were saying, they have all the stuff. How do they not know who Prin is? And one thing I thought was kind of funny about the movie is they had every stereotypical person who would be suspects. You've got the shady businessman, you've got the Russian, hardened Russian guy, and everything in between. So I'm curious, whenever he's on the train, was there ever a point where you were just going, where you legitimately thought, man, who is, or is there a particular person besides who we know? And spoiler warnings to anyone who's watching, we will have some spoilers in this. Was there ever a point where you go, oh, I think it's this person, and you were surprised by who it actually was?
well, when he was, the guy that ended up being the federal agent, right? Like, I was like, maybe it's him. And then I thought maybe like the jerk Wall Street guy, because she had said when she sat down across from him, she was like, he doesn't belong. Or no, she said Prin doesn't belong. Like, someone on this train doesn't belong. And so I thought that was maybe an indication, because the Wall Street guy was complaining that he had to be on the train. So clearly he's not, used to being on it, used to taking it. He thinks it's for commoners or whatever. That was his attitude. So I was like, it's probably him. Like, she clearly said, like, it's someone who doesn't belong. So that was like my first inclination.
And we'll get into this a little bit more when we talk about the acting side of it. But what do you think it is about Liam Neeson that makes him so good in these kinds of movies? Because he is good. Like, we have the Taken trilogy, we have films like The Unknown. I'm not. And the list goes on and on. Like, there's a ton. He has
Yeah,
made this. He has made this like his household thing kind of in his later years. What do you think makes him
definitely.
so compelling in these
Yeah, I
roles?
mean, I feel like yeah, but he's like a protector, right? Like he's constantly, certainly in this movie and others, he wants to protect his family. He's like on the phone, right? Like, let me talk to my wife, let me talk to my kids. I want to make sure they're safe, right? Like he's very much a protector. He very much wants to know that his family is safe.
Right, that makes sense. And also, one thing I was going to ask is, now again, spoiler alert for those who's watching. If you haven't seen it, it's available on Hulu right now. Um, so you can fast forward a little bit. This part I am going to ask. I did think it was interesting that Sam Neill plays his old captain, or his old sergeant, I guess, who's now a captain, and then Patrick Wilson, another Dynamite actor, plays his former partner. And normally in these kinds of movies, it's usually the captain is the bad guy, right? The guy who got promoted but doesn't really deserve it. And then they twist it. It's like, oh no, it's his partner who's really involved. And I have to admit, the the twist of that, I felt a little let down by. I wanted something a little bit more for that. Why did you? How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I totally agreed because, once they were in that conversation together, once they were like kind of noodling through the hostage situation and he's talking to him and he's realizing like, oh man, like I just got set up by my ex-partner, like I kind of knew it was coming, right? Like I was like, oh, like this is what we're leading towards. His longtime friend, the one he was like confiding in, when he got fired, like, you could kind of sense it was going down that path. So yeah, it was mildly predictable, but yeah, it just added to the movie, I think, of why it could have been better, but it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're going to move on to the other segment where we talk about casting. Now, this is actually a place where I thought the film did a good job. I think it has a really good cast. Like I said, it's got Liam Neeson. He plays the protagonist, and we've got Sam Neill, and we've got Patrick Wilson. And I feel like on that level, the film did do good. And I felt their talent, real, like you said, it wasn't as bad as people said it was. And I really feel like it was because of the talent. What do you think?
Oh, I completely agree. They're each really good at playing those types of respective roles. Obviously, Liam Neeson is a master at that, at that type of role of protecting his family and, doing action scenes and that kind of thing. So I thought the casting was spot on, and it definitely helped carry the movie and carry the plot.
And that was one thing. Vera Farmiga, of course, plays the woman who gives him this mysterious assignment on the
Mm.
train and everything. And I have to admit, I was a little sad because she is a very good actress. Anyone who's
Yeah.
seen Bates Motel, fantastic actress. She was, of course, in The Judge with Robert Downey Jr. And I was. This was. I almost wish that they had picked someone else to play the role because she's such a
Mm.
good actress and it really didn't get to show off her talent. What do you think about that?
Yeah, not at all. I mean, it was such a limited role, right? We saw her, all of two times. I mean, we heard her on the phone a couple times,
Right.
right? But we saw her all of two times. Yeah, it's just, I think that role like could have just been written more to like expand that, or maybe even have a sequence in the movie where there's just a little bit more backstory on her as
Mhm.
a character. Like, why her? Why is she the messenger? Why is she the one that has to kind of handle the entire segment of like talking to Liam Neeson in person, and then clearly she's watching him, so she's on the phone with him doing the follow-ups. And yeah, I just think it was such a limited character that we could have learned more as an audience, and it would have allowed her to put in some more acting chops too.
And you know, to the rest of the commuters, I thought that they did a good job. Like I said, the movie itself kind of made them stereotypical of what they were supposed to
Right.
represent. You know, the stressed out nurse and all this. And but one thing I did like about the conclusion is how and this is one thing I like about Christopher Nolan's films as well, is it concludes where people do the right thing. And because we already have like a ton of movies where, you know, it ends where people eat each other, right? You know, not metaphorically, although some movies have ended that way. But
Right.
I feel like one thing that is something I appreciated was the commuters on the train. They did come together to protect Prim and even Liam Neeson's character, and I really like that about it because you know, especially in this day and age where there's so much division over politics and whatnot, I felt like that was a good message. Is okay, these people, they're doing the right thing in this moment, and that was something I felt was kind of heartfelt, and the cast who played all these commuters did a good job. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I mean, you know, especially at the very end in the train, once they realize that his ex-partner is like the bad guy, right? He's the corrupt guy. He's the one who, you know, saw things and is trying to cover them up, you know. So yeah, it was nice for them to stand up and kind of protect each other, protect Prin, protect Liam Neeson. So it was nice to see. So definitely it brought it home as far as, okay, this movie's going to have a nice happy ending where like there's closure, like we're you know, we've got all the loose ends tied up as an audience.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. And now this is my favorite part of this, where I give my guest the opportunity to say how would, in this case, she would fix this film. So if Lisa, if you were directing this film, and you know, not the fine director who did it, what are some changes you would have made? Were there certain plot points you would have expanded on, some you would have minimized? And would you have picked someone different to be the antagonist as opposed to who we found out who it was at the end?
For me, I would have tried to find a way maybe to expand on just a little bit more character development, right? I feel like we get a good sense of Liam Neeson's character, but you know, other people on the train, like even shots of you know, what brought them to be on that train that day, right? Because some of them are commuters, some of them not, and so you know, what brought everyone together, because they all seem to play a role there. And as far as, you know, the plot twist at the end, I thought it was appropriate, although mildly predictable. Like, you know, it was his partner and trusted confidant has, you know, screwed him, right?
Right.
So although mildly predictable, I thought it was an appropriate twist, because otherwise the alternatives would have to be, you know, this mystery organization of really bad people that you don't want to cross, you know, like it would just be them, and we still would be kind of left in the dark of who they are and why they're even bothered with all this.
Right, exactly. And for those of you who maybe this is your first episode, I don't do this in no way to disparage directors. I just do this for fun. I give my guests the opportunity.
Yeah, I am not a director and not.
Right. Paulette Sierra is an
anyway.
excellent director. It's in no way saying he is bad or anything. I'm just saying in this particular scenario, I like to give my guests the opportunity to just play director and give their own little critiques on how they would fix what most people agree is not a very good film. Although, like I said, The Commuter isn't like, and you said this earlier too, The Commuter is not like a bad film in the sense
of, it definitely
like,
wasn't as bad as I thought that.
Right.
I was maybe led to believe based on like reviews and things like that, especially even preparing for this segment, right?
Right.
I watched it and I was like, am I missing something? Because it's like I'm engaged, like I'm liking the plot.
It's basically a good film that has flaws, and that's okay. And a lot of films are like that. It's just the way it is. So, all right. Before we go, I always give my guests, Lisa, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Lisa Song Sutton. My business website is lisasongSutton.com, and my congressional candidate website is lisafornevada.com.
All right, and also, of course, you can subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give this video a like. You can find me, of course, StudioJake, Facebook is author Jacob Airy. And of course, I do movie reviews and I talk more about film news and commentary on my website, jacobairy.blog. So you can head over there as well. Lisa, thank you again so much for coming on. This was such a great conversation.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.